Alrighty. So welcome everybody. It's Friday Night Comics. It is Friday night. I know I always say the same thing because sometimes it's not Friday night. Sometimes it's Saturday morning and you just had a cyclone in New Zealand and like everything's topsy-turvy. But it sounds like our friends in New Zealand are okay. Um, anyway, we believe in comics. It's the Friday night workshops at Sequential Artists Workshop. You're at SAW. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. We have lots of online courses, and you can find them at sawcomics.org. The next one we have coming up is Comics Layouts with Ramina Yi. It starts April 27th, and that is timed especially for people in the Eastern Hemisphere. So I think it is like 4 a.m. Eastern time zone, but it's like 6 p.m. Sydney and Melbourne and things like that. So go check that out, especially if you're in a different time zone and want an option to study with Romania. Oh, and also next week here in this slot, we've got Natalie Norris doing what she calls, oh, it says medieval comics. I didn't change that, but it's love letters or something like that. And I forgot what Natalie told me. Belle. Um, so again, there's Ramina's slide, excuse me. There's a couple weeks left to sign up for the graphic novel intensive. If you're interested in that, we've got some slots left, and that's going to be a 6-month program that starts in June and goes to November. Thanks for everybody if you donated to any event of ours or in any way, especially to this Friday night, because it helps keep them free and helps us pay the instructors and just helps keep going. And we really appreciate this. We appreciate all these events and the time we spend with you. So this helps out. Thank you. So, okay, we'll get started in a moment. Please no inappropriate speech or imagery. Keep it PG-13, um, et cetera, et cetera. Please share tonight on social media with the hashtag Friday Night Comics. You can do it at Comics Workshop. I think we just got a purple sky. Is it pink sky? Pink sky, I think, account, so it's like the Instagram alternative on the blue sky operating system. So check that out too. Or you can go to members.sawcomics.org and find us there. Let's keep an eye on time. We close in about 84 minutes from now, and we need to keep that time real. So our sharing will end then. But there are lots of other ways you can share, and I'll put those ways in the chat. And it's including our weekly PDFs that we put together every week, and those you find on Seesaw Comics. Although I don't know how many people submitted last week. We did this 2-page flip-orama, and it was maybe hard to replicate in the PDF, but and I haven't checked it out yet. We need to check it out. So those are the PDFs. Enjoy. We've got Lawrence Scales here. Ye Olde Comics. I love that image. I love the idea of Ye Olde Comics. I just don't know if Lawrence can hear me or not, but hopefully in the chat they've been sorting that out. I'm going to stop sharing and see where we're at. Anybody? Where are we? You're inviting.
Tom, I sent Lawrence a message in chat to call me. Maybe we could work through it, but I'm not sure he's looking at the chat panel.
All right. Well, I will tell you then. I always have a plan B. And here's my plan B for now. Michael, if Lawrence comes back on, you can sort of like guide him into what I'm no Zoom in the olden times. You can guide Lawrence into what I'm gonna currently spoil everyone's evening with. So when I thought about uh and I let me preface this by like I want to make sure this is respectable and and I can have a tendency to be flippant about these kinds of things. So if anyone thinks I'm doing that, uh, let me know. But when I thought about old time comics, or at least comics from before, oh, there's Lawrence again. I'm going to make him co-host, and you can tell us, Lauren, Michael, if that's working. Um, when I thought about old time comics, I went immediately to the Stations of the Cross because it's almost Easter, and and I I don't practice a religion, and I'm not here to advocate for or against one, but I will say that I find it pretty interesting. Um, Let me see uh, that the Stations of the Cross, which are the depiction of Jesus while in the final days of his life, according to the Bible, is often depicted in this sort of comic form, in this comic strip form. And let's see if we can get this image really big. Um, So, and in fact, when I first saw these, I couldn't tell what was going on in most of them. So I'm really glad this one has the text because I'm not as versed in this kind of stuff. But but if you've ever come across these or ever seen them, it is like very commonly depicted in churches and in places, medieval churches, especially was dealing with illiterate people. They were taught often in this kind of form, and seeing the narrative along the walls or in the windows was a way to remind them of what Jesus went through. And I don't exactly recall. I mean, this to me is a lot of steps. Uh, Jesus is condemned to death. Jesus carries his cross. Jesus falls for the first time, right? That's the bits I always forget about. Jesus meets his blessed mother. Simon helps to care. So, by the way, if Lawrence comes back on, let me know and we'll get
I'm
started.
here. I'm
Can you hear
here.
us, Lawrence? Oh,
Yes,
great.
I
Then
can
I
hear
can
you.
turn this
They're
off.
sending the chat. They're sending in the
Okay,
chat.
great. Well, I can't
Sorry.
wait. Well, then let everyone. I will finish my little like digression by saying you can also get AI to do a Garfield style if you want.
Garfield. Yes, Garfield. Oh
So-
my God. I'm playing as Garfield right now in a Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
Oh,
It's pretty
funny.
perfect.
Lawrence,
Um,
can you raise your Zoom hand? Do you have access to that on your menu? And
Hold
if
on.
not,
Let
that's
me,
okay.
let
Don't,
me.
you know what? Don't worry about it.
Oh, wait,
Um,
I found it. I can raise my
oh,
Zoom hand. Raise hand.
great. And now in a moment or two, it's going to say you're not talking. I'm going to lower your hand. See if you can, if it does that, hit cancel. But if it not, it's okay. So what do you got for us? Can you tell us? Oh, see, it did it. It just lowered it.
Yay. All right. Well, I have my presentation ready. If
Let's
you want to
go.
share screen, so I can
Let's
show
see
it.
let's see what Ye Olde Comics
Um,
are about.
yeah, let's look at some Ye Olde comics together.
Okay,
Um, I'm going to pull up this. So can I share screen with you guys?
definitely. You're co-host, so you should be able to do that.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I see share screen. And it's like, all right, I'm sharing a window. So is that showing my window with
Yes.
the little version of me? Okay, here we go. Perfect. I'm going to go into slideshow mode. Can you guys all see that?
Mm-hmm. That's
Great.
great.
So thank you everyone for coming. This is the old comics. I know a lot of people would pronounce it ye, but back in the Middle Ages, they just said the Y was a TH sound. It's nice to meet everyone. I'm a cartoonist. I'm an educator. I live in Chicago now. I make art books, comic zines. I do illustrations. I do kids comics like Jimothy's Bike Ride, and I do some art books like Larry's Movie List. I've been at Zine Mercado, Third Space Art Smart, Authors Against Book Censorship, which was at SAIC, and I'm currently doing a full-length horror graphic novel. If at any point during this presentation, if you guys want to be sketching or doodling, it's totally fine. I know it helps some people, absorb the information. So firstly, we're going to learn what is a medieval comic, because it might seem like a foreign concept. We're going to look at some, and then we're going to draw really short our own medieval comics. Does anyone have any questions about that before I get into a little bit of the history?
Um, could I get you to maybe check your audio settings again?
Yeah, are they messed up?
A little bit. There's a good audio setting that usually sets that says Zoom background noise removal. And if you do,
Oh, I think I had that turned on. I'm sorry,
you-
everyone. Yeah, it's turned on already.
is it on auto?
It is on.
What about high?
Let's see here.
Now speak.
Background, video,
Do you,
internal mic. Does that do anything?
it it's a little weirder. Try speak again. Let's hear it.
Is that just my voice?
I think it's better. I'm going to turn down. It actually raised the volume, but also made it clearer. Yeah, everyone says it's way better. Keep that.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay. Sorry, guys. Does anyone have any questions about the concept of a medieval comic before we do a little brief history dive and look at some examples?
Well, I think the examples will help us help answer our questions. So,
I see Lorraine raising her hand. Does she want to ask any
oh,
questions about this?
we can get to questions. Oh, Lorraine, if anyone has a question, you can ask it in the chat. That's the best way.
Right. Then I'll move on and I will look at the chat in momentum. So yeah, we're going to learn what a medieval comic is. We're going to look at some examples and we're going to make our own. And here's a little look at my bio in case you didn't get to hear it when the audio was weird. That's me as a little Middle Ages gesture with my cat. So we're going to start with what are the Middle Ages? They sort of didn't exist, actually. It's hard to, I will explain. So most people view it as the after the fall of Rome, which is a painting depicting that at like 456 BC, and then 1,000 years go by. That's like, oh, I guess it stinks and everything is bad and there's witch burnings and disease and it's horrible. And then the Renaissance, oh, so amazing, the Renaissance. But really, this whole span of time that we call the quote unquote dark ages had incredible art, science, even though it was moving at a slower pace, there were things happening. And the only reason we even have this concept of dark ages is because of this guy, Petrarch, who was referring to the lack of Latin literature after the fall of Rome. He wasn't saying that this whole period was some dark zone where there was nothing happening and everyone was crazy or whatever. Really, a lot of the stuff we associate with the Middle Ages, like the witch burnings, did not actually happen in that period of time. A lot of that happened in the early modern era, Renaissance, that type of thing. So if we're looking at examples of medieval art, I mean, you think of, you might think of tapestries, you might think of church murals, you might think of gargoyles or grotesques on churches, but we're going to look at some Middle Ages comics. And the first question is, do they exist? And were the Dark Ages really a thing? No, the Dark Ages weren't really a thing. No. There's all this beautiful art, like I said, from around the world. There was an Islamic golden age. There was a golden age in China. There was a golden age in northern and western Africa, Benin, Nigeria, Ethiopia. So again, this idea of a totally dark zone where nothing was happening is kind of ridiculous. So yes, there was art being made and there were comics being made. And like I said, we're going to look at some beautiful examples. So first we have to wonder, what is a comic? Scott McCloud defines it as juxtaposed images in a deliberate sequence intended to convey information or an aesthetic response in the view. I've shortened this a little, but that's his general idea. So with that in mind, and we're saying, yes, there are medieval comics, let's look at some. I mean, do they fit this exact definition? My first example is Stowe MS-49. You can see there are several figures here. The tallest figure in the middle is the father, the little child on his back is his toddler. These are his children. They're traveling. They have these lines coming out of their mouth with speech over top of the lines. Here we have this character speaking, and his line of text goes up here like this. There's this other character speaking right here. His text is here. The baby is speaking. He has text. This line, more text. This line, more text. And this is actually written in English. Obviously, very hard to read for modern readers, but that's medieval English. And basically, the translation of this cartoon is that the father is carrying the baby on his back, and his kids are complaining. They're walking around. The kids are saying, "We're too cold. Our stuff is heavy. I'm bored. I'm hungry. I'm tired." And the dad is basically saying, "Look at your brother." And the brother's up here up front in just a little hood with a walking stick, and he's nude. And that's the joke, basically. It's that they're complaining so much, and this guy is fine. And he's just like having a ball up here naked with a little hood on his head. That's a great example. But you'll see stuff like this, where it's just a line coming out of their mouth with the text. Another example would be something like the unicorn tapestry. And I apologize for the quality of the image. I have the panel taken right here so you can look a little closer. But that is a type of narrative where each piece of the tapestry is a different part of the narrative. It's its own panel with kind of miniature scenes happening within each image. And they're sort of separated by characters grouped together. So in this piece, you have kind of the entry point is the castle up here. You have the two hunters. They're pointing to this other group. They have their spears and their dogs going after the unicorn. And then these guys are attacking the unicorn from behind.
So it's one complete self-contained narrative about people hunting the unicorn, but it also fits within this larger story of the hunt going out, the unicorn at the fountain. This isn't necessarily in the right order. They kill the unicorn and then they bring it back and it is resurrected. It's commonly considered an allegory for the crucifixion, these unicorn tapestries. And if you live near New York, you can see them in the Met. They're beautiful. But I consider this a silent comic. I mean, you have characters acting very a little over the top so you can actually see and get an idea of what's happening. That is also very common in medieval comics, where if they don't have words, because not everyone was literate, they have very clear action. It's very clear. Like each part of the picture is leading to another part, and those parts are separated by empty zones or by lines, or here it's a tree. But you'll see that a lot in narrative medieval art, where it's little clumps of scenes happening together on one page to show that action is happening over time. But a more, example that you would think would be more like modern comics would be these scrolls coming out of the mouth or held in their hands. Those are called banderoles. It's a medieval speech book. There are many examples of these all over medieval art, where you have the text coming out of the person's mouth via a scroll. If they're holding it, it also means that that's their words. The holding or pointing denotes an ownership of the balloon, not just the words coming out of their mouth, but for example, text over their heads or text in their hands is, this is my speech and I am saying this. This other one is a secondary example I love. This is from a manuscript that's from the 12th century, and it is in Frankfurt, Germany right now. But basically, this woman here is the artist. She made a self-portrait. This balloon is hers. That's why she's holding it. And her name is Gouda, right here, Guda. And she says, Gouda, decorator and sinner. So basically saying she's the one who illustrated this, and she's a sinner because she's a human being. And that's the assumption at the time. But that's another example. I mean, even getting into something like almost memoir, where we're learning something about this woman who existed, thousands of years ago. She was a decorator, an illuminator, a nun. She considered herself a sinner, and this is her speaking. And that's why she's holding it, to show that it is her words. And with that said, I have a beautiful prompt. If we want to spend the rest of the time just drawing, chatting, we can. If people need to look at the examples to get more inspiration, I can always put examples in the chat. I have more images besides these, but we are going to basically pick one scene from a famous fairy tale, so like Cinderella or Hansel and Gretel, and we're just going to draw as if we are medieval artists. You can make the scene funnier or scarier or more serious. Often medieval artists did, especially stories from the Bible. They would make them sillier or grosser or funnier. And think about the medieval style we looked at. We have the banderoles, which is the scroll coming out of the mouth. We have kind of the silent narrative where people are really acting and the scene is sort of shown as a pantomime. We also have the classic, just the line coming out of the mouth with the text. And those are all ways you can make a medieval comic. So if you want to do a fairy tale in this style or take inspiration from the styles, that's really what the rest of the workshop is going to be. I'm going to share me drawing on my iPad as well. Like I said, I will put more art in the chat so that you guys can look at some more examples from the time period. So let me bring it back.
Yeah, this is great.
And I bring it back to my screen, my regular screen.
I'm not sure.
Actually me. So I will do entire screen. Share. All right. I'm back. Here I am, a screen within a screen.
Oh yeah, like forever Zoom is.
Oh no, screen inception. Hold on, let me change it as a window. I'll do window and I'll just switch windows to this window. Okay. There. Can you guys just see me now?
No, we saw Medieval Comics Workshop.
Bring it back to me. Oh, I probably just need to turn off screen share. Duh. How do I turn this off? I'm a Middle Ages man. How do I turn off screen share? I just want to be me now.
You've got it turned off. We see your face, but you were gonna
Oh.
do iPad, you said?
Yeah, I'm gonna have my iPad and I'm gonna have the prompt. If you can see the prompt. And I'm gonna tilt the camera to show my iPad because it is a different device.
Okay, I'll spotlight you really fast. Hang on a second.
Let's see if I can.
I think you got it on blur, so you're gonna have to unblur it.
Yeah. Give me. Look at me, I'm a mess. Let's see. I'm gonna blur the back. Does anyone have any questions before they start sketching or before I get this all set up?
Question about timing, but also people really want to see some more images. So if you do have some links, definitely put them in the chat. We'd love to see them.
Yes, I do have more. I'm gonna grab a couple right now and put them in the chat.
Okay.
So that people can look at beautiful examples. But yeah, I mean, I love the comics from this time period. I think they're fantastic and very funny and interesting. Let's see. I downloaded a couple examples. I'm gonna grab them. Let's see. Here we go. Here's another one. Put this in the chat. Let me just. And if people want to start just jotting down ideas for the comic they do, the prompt, they can always start doing that while I put more images in the chat. So certainly no pressure on, starting right away or immediately.
Are you putting some in the chat? I'm putting one thing in the chat because
yes, I am putting one in the chat.
Okay, awesome.
Let me see. Which one do I put the little OneDrive, Microsoft? How do I just put a picture in the chat?
Oh,
Does it
that I
have to
don't
be a
know.
link?
Yeah.
It just has to be a link.
I'm not sure. I've never actually been able to figure it out.
Well, I do have images on my screen. I can pull up one right now.
Yeah, why don't
I have
you do
another
that? And
example.
I think people would love to see a few more images. And meanwhile, we can get started. Most of the time, should we shoot for like a 4 panels? Does that sound about right? Oh, did we lose Lawrence? I think we lost Lawrence again. As is typical with these workshops, I'm sure shooting for 4 panels is about right. And that sounds super cool. And again, I'd love to see if people have other things they'd like to share. For instance, medieval marginalia in general is just a really fun, wonderful art form to explore. As I understand it, it was a lot of like monks and nuns working on illuminated manuscripts and copying Bibles and stuff, but they would get so bored or at least playful that they would draw a lot of cats and bunnies and things in the margins. And so there's a lot of that stuff is well documented. It's probably the best thing the internet gave us, actually, if you ask me. It's spreading the gospel of the medieval marginalia. Fighting snails, Nikki says, was a common thing. Yeah, Nikki, why don't you put a couple fighting snails? You know what? I'll just put it in the chat. Oh, I think Lawrence is back. Let me see if I can make Lawrence co-host again. There we go. And then Lawrence can try and share what.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I
Welcome.
got dropped out for some reason. Yes, fighting snails was a common one. Medieval people really liked sarcastic humor, and that was the joke. That it's a snail. Obviously, it's not fighting you. That was the whole gist of the joke. Same thing with depictions of rabbits also fighting people. Again, it was just a joke, meant to show that it was silly. Here's another example. Can you guys all see that?
Yeah.
So that's another. This is a very specific scene where it's 2 scholars. One of them is the teacher. One of them is the student. They're talking about some pieces of a manuscript. I wish it let me zoom. Here we go. And this is their speech balloons. It's like the speech is just floating around them, and it's labeled with letters so you know who's speaking first, like A, B, C, D. And even some of the text is curving, like this crazy curving sort of poetic way that the actual script is being depicted. This one, it's funny because the tail is actually the text. Like the balloon tail starts here and the text is that. it's ways they kind of lead you to the person speaking without using the blue. And there's another one, same thing, where the tail is actually part of the text, and it's formatted around his head and his hands and stuff, which I find so interesting. And some of this is written upside down. Can you imagine that? And you would just have to turn the paper to read it. And you have this. Yeah, they're both arguing over some manuscripts, and that's why they're pointing at it. Because again, it's that very overemphasized acting that you see in a lot of medieval manuscripts, so that what's happening is really clear. So I love that example. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I think I have a couple more I can pull up, but I will exit out of this tab for now. Back to me. There we go. But yeah, that's another incredible example of the
Oh, wait,
way.
no, we're looking at you again.
Yeah, me. That's fine.
No. Oh, but I thought you had another image up.
Oh, I'm about to pull it up. I just have
Oh,
to
okay.
grab it first.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in my downloads. I gotta grab it. Let me pull up this other stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's just really funny how so much has changed, but yet so much remains the same. I mean, those people were using multiple languages as well, because you would have people, when you had a character speaking and they were a street person, they'd be speaking in English, but if they were clergy, they'd be speaking in Latin, and if they were an aristocrat, they would be speaking in French. So a lot of these were also trilingual, which is pretty crazy as well.
Mm.
And here's another example. You have this, there is the beautiful, little scrolls, the banderoles coming out of people's mouths to show that they're talking. The little kind of balloon tail is the folded edge here.
Can you
And
zoom in a little?
yeah, sure.
Love to see those faces.
Yeah, these little nuns that look so sad and disturbing. Look at their little gremlin faces. I really like them. Look at that. All saggy. I love it.
I wonder
But
what,
yeah, oh, go on.
oh, I was just going to ask, I'd love to see this image. If you know what that image is called or where it comes from, I'd love to be able to find it later.
Yes, a lot of these are, I have the website I got from Bookmarked, but most of these images you will find in archives, especially in Europe. So if you are looking for more examples, you can actually do a search. Here, I can show another one. For example, in our, we'll go back to my presentation because I can show it. In one of the citations I have, it actually shows where I saw the image, which is another place where you can easily see a lot of these pictures. Let's see, window. I'm gonna open another window. Pull my comics. Let me share that other window. So in my presentation, for example, I have sources cited under each image. And if you are interested in seeing more of these images, you will find that this Stastio Bibliothek in Frankfurt is another place where they have a full digital archive, and you can look at these delicious scans of all this. That it's super high quality. And MS means manuscript from Barth. It's the 42nd, might be the page. And again, there's more Stowe MS 49. So this was in a French library. And I think this also, so was this one, the Super Totem Biblium, Tome 7 by Nicolas de Lyra. That was in a French, the national, French library, the French Bibliothèque. So those are very reliable resources to find medieval comics images. But even if you just look up banderoles, for example, medieval banderoles, you will be able to find via Google a lot of examples of comics or images from the Middle Ages where the person is using a banderole, which is a speech blur. And I can write that term in the chat so that people have it written down and know how it's spelled. I will. A banderole is the name of a medieval speech balloon that is like a scroll. That's a banderole. Yeah, banderoles, exactly. You can find tons of images of them. Even if you just Google medieval comics, there's interest in this field of study. It's fairly new, but there is legitimate interest in it on a scholarly level. So you can also just find different Substacks, blogs. You can find like PhD and master's degree holding people who study the Middle Ages who archive this stuff online. Like they post examples from manuscripts they've seen in different archives while they were studying. So Google is kind of your friend in this regard because it's becoming more and more accessible, which I think is awesome. The more this art is shared, the more people can realize that comics has been around forever and that the Middle Ages beautiful art was being made and it wasn't just like people not washing their hands, you know. Right. So I think now I'm going to, does anyone want more examples? I can pull up.
Great. And I think people have shared some in the chat. So we've got a couple links in the chat that work pretty well.
Oh, perfect. Turn your cat into an ugly medieval cat. Yes. There were some good medieval cats, but yeah, some of them were very disturbing looking. Don't really know why. I don't know why. I know why they depicted Jesus ugly because they wanted to make him look like a grown man and a baby at the same time. But the cats, I don't really get. Handless Maiden, that's a good one. Yeah, people drawing in the marginalia. Nikki is right. There would be people just drawing random stuff in the margins of manuscripts. A lot of the humor was very much like poops, butts, genitals, homoerotic humor. So you would see stuff like that in like the margins of a Bible, which is pretty funny. I mean, you know, they had a sense of humor. They did.
Okay, are you going to draw on your iPad?
Yes, I am. I'm going to write one more thing.
Okay.
In the chat, this is something that you guys will probably find interesting. They are, now I'm losing it already. As soon as Word Chronicles. So Word Chronicles are similar, where they are illustrated texts where it's basically like pieces of the Bible, but it's like fan fiction of the Bible, where it's like comedy and funny, which I really appreciate. And they have the text as captions rather than speech balloons. But you can find scans of these types of Word Chronicle books all over the place in archives, like I said. Reminder, the prompt I will put in the chat. And then I'm going to start drawing.
Oh, Word Chronicle. Actually, I hadn't heard that term. That's interesting.
They're very funny. They're really good. The prompt is draw a scene from a fairy tale as a medieval comic. So you're doing it in the medieval style. It can be one panel. It could be a whole page. Up to you. Right.
Okay. And I'm going to put a couple, I'm going to curate some of the links that we got from
yes, that'd be awesome. And
in
then
the
I'm
chat.
going to reveal my iPad and begin drawing my medieval comic. This is currently my chest. I know. I think I can get the camera down. Can you guys see the surface of this, or should I put the camera a little higher?
Well, the problem is you're also screen sharing, but so
Yeah,
let's see.
I wanted to do it like it is a sketchbook, basically. Because I know some people do sketchbooks when they're doing these.
Gotcha. Yeah, it'd be better at a better. I still can't see it too well yet, but maybe in a minute.
I'm gonna keep moving it.
Can the better way might be to sign in. Well, that's a little better.
Just gonna put it up.
But I don't think you need to screen share to do this. I'm going to change your screen sharing and we'll still see what you're seeing. Let's see. Yeah.
Can you see it when I'm like this?
Yeah.
You can see it okay like this?
Okay. It's okay.
It's just okay. Oh well.
That's all right. And I'm still grabbing some of these.
Is it visible at all? Or is it too blurry? Because I can
keep going.
I don't know how well it's gonna go on my iPad or signing into Zoom on my iPad. I could sign off and sign on through my iPad and just screen share.
No, it's just what this is good. Just go
Okay.
ahead.
So I'm going to start. Personally, I love doing diary comics. I'm actually going to draw me as a little medieval guy in this fairy tale. And I'm going to have it be Cinderella trying on the shoe. So I'm going to have a little foot. I like to do really blurry sketches first before I actually do more detailed. And I'm having the pointing and everything really overly clear because medieval comics were like that. They were very overly clear. And her banderole is going to be coming out. I think I'm going to have his over here like this. I'm going to have them the really extreme perspective of it almost looking like this is the tile floor. We'll have a throne. I'm just doing a one panel illustration because that's kind of my thing when I do really short comics. But if you guys feel like you want to do more than one image, like multiple scenes from a fairy tale, you may do that. Start just sketching my characters. So I'm gonna have Cinderella. I think I'm gonna put her in sort of medieval clothes as well. You don't have to do this, but I personally like dressing my characters in the costume of the day. I love the medieval style of clothing, even though it's pretty ridiculous. All right, there's her. There's her barefoot. It's big because they drew feet and hands
Wait,
really big.
I forgot which fairy. Oh, that's Cinderella. Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm doing Cinderella. But people can choose anyone they wish. No pressure. I'm going to have her really skinny like they drew them. Have her with her little kirtle top. She's going to be... Said the proportions for a lot of these were crazy. I don't mind having her proportions be a little crazy. And I'm giving her big hands because you see a lot of these, like I said, exaggerated features in Middle Ages comics, where they really are like you saw Gouda or Hauda's hand, the nun. Her hand was huge.
Oh, I
And
think
it
I missed
had,
that.
yeah, it was the lady who was in the letter D.
I
The
remember. I
nun.
just didn't notice her hand was so big. That's pretty
Her
cool.
hand is big.
Mm.
Yeah, if you look, you'll see that their hands and feet are really big. They tend to exaggerate certain physical features.
Yeah, I messed up already then.
Some of it is not in a nice way. It's like to be rude to people, but some of it is just that's how they drew. Um, you know, and I have had people ask before, like, you know, if you're looking at depictions of other ethnicities in medieval art, did they depict them in a negative way? The answer is no, because the slave trade didn't exist yet. So they would be depicting foreigners negatively for different reasons. Like if they weren't Christian, or they would just be xenophobic because they're from a different place and they look different, but they would not be racist in the way that we know it today because it did not exist yet. Which is, you can find examples of Black people in medieval art, especially in some of the word chronicles, depicted pretty normally as just main characters or important biblical characters often, because there were plenty of foreigners in the Bible. So yeah, it is very interesting to see that stuff before the modern era when race-based slavery was invented, because it didn't exist, like I said, during the Middle Ages. It did not exist yet. There's my Cinderella. I'm giving her very long, flowy hair. More of a late Renaissance look, almost a medieval look. Cinderella. Having her... Yeah, it's no pressure for making a medieval comic because there was no specific standard of like realistic drawing like we have today. We're drawing more emotively rather than trying to be representative of anything. It was more about the feeling, which I kind of like. Again, that's part of the reason it appeals to me so much.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I love this idea that your word balloon might be stuck to your hand. That's what I'm gonna.
Yeah, it's cool. I like how they literally would have you like holding it or something to show that it was yours. It does make sense when you think about it, but it is also just funny that you don't really think about it if you're not, if you're coming from a world that has something other than paper to show you text.
Mm.
In their world, it was just paper, or stone or something. I'm drawing my guy with his medieval boots. A lot of the men wore really long-toed boots, and men at that time did wear garters. Just so you guys know,
Wait, they did wear garter?
garters. Yes, they wore
Hmm.
garters. Like they had stockings tied to their underwear, like garters, like a garter belt, and they wore codpiece for the middle part because they didn't have pants yet. You just don't think about that, like
What
a
do you mean
time
they didn't
before
have pants?
pants.
What do you mean they
Well,
didn't have
they
pants yet?
they didn't have enough material to make pants, and
Oh,
it was difficult to sew. So wearing stockings and a garter was a much more efficient way to have your legs clothed
wow.
rather than making a whole pair of pants. Are you kidding me? That's like so much fabric. You don't have all that.
Hmm.
It was a much economically poorer. Nations were overall much poorer than they are now. So they also just had less to work with. Yes, a time before pants. Is my name. This is my name.
So wait, you know what? I think I need to put a fighting snail into mine. I'm
Do
gonna go.
it.
I'm gonna go research the fighting snails.
Since we're all adults here, I will also say that medieval people all really liked, like I said, jokes about butts and poop and stuff. And I remember seeing one where it was a drawing of a penis, except the head of the penis was a face, and the balls were faces, and it had legs and a tail, and the speech balloon was coming out of its butt, and it was farting a song. Because farting was a really popular form of comedy in the Middle Ages. There were people who were professional farters. Like farting was what they did as their act, which is pretty hilarious to think about. Struggling to make this page. There we go.
Would they use the word smite back then? Is that a good word? Is it a good old
Yes, smite, zounds would also be another, could say.
zound?
Zounds, it means damn, basically. Zounds. You could say God's wounds. That'd be another one.
God's wounds.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. All right.
And they didn't have left shoes or right shoes either.
Just
Shoe, it formed to your foot. You just had two shoes and eventually they started to fit you.
well, I like that idea.
Oh, that's why Cinderella. That's why it made sense to them because it's like it's her shoe because she's the
Oh.
only one who can wear it because it's hers.
Hmm.
All
That
right,
is
there's
interesting.
my guy holding the shoe. I don't know if it's very clear with his giant hands.
Jenny in the chat says zounds is a shortening of God's wounds. That's pretty interesting.
Oh, nice. Okay, I forgot what it stood for. I could not remember. He's got Cinderella's shoes now. I have to make it giant so you can see that it's her foot. A giant high heel. A giant high heel. My high heel looks like a banana, but
Oh, looks great.
Here's my guy. They wore a lot of stuff on their head back then because it was really cold. And buildings were not insulated, so it was freezing. Here's my guy. Here's my Cinderella. She's beautiful. Sitting on a throne or something. I'm on this floor. Gotta make a crowd of onlookers here. Right. I've got my text. I usually do the text first. My Cinderella is talking about her giant feet. My banderole.
Lawrence, before you go, I put in the chat a link to an old essay. And by old, I mean it's about 20 years old, called Labels, Loops, and Bubbles. And that is all about text balloons pre-20th century. And it goes back to
Wow.
medieval. It's pretty good.
Well, I had the good fortune of seeing 18th century comics in person um, when I was doing some historical work in Philadelphia, which was
Oh, wow.
very special. Yeah, we did an exhibit on a specific man, Richard St. George, and he just so happened to make cartoons while he was alive as a soldier in the Revolutionary Army. Well, he's a British soldier, but
Wow.
yeah, he made cartoons all about making fun of Americans and like, you guys are stupid and gay and I don't like you. But yeah, the speech ones are really funny because they're very, very long to fit all of the cursive text. That's something. All right, I'm almost done my drawing. So I can't wait to see everyone else's.
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 minutes we can open it up and see what people have done. I can share mine. Mine's done very, very, very hastily and because I've been managing the chat, but it's been kind of a fun experiment anyway.
Yeah, I think experiments like this are good to just loosen you up and get you thinking about different ways to make
Yeah.
art. Because it's like, how many times are we thinking about having speech balloons be scrolls of text?
There's a classic Zippy cartoon. You know, Zippy was a daily for 20, 30 years. Maybe still is. I can't remember, but there's one where he has those kinds of banderoles that are a little more like 18th century.
Oh, nice.
And it happens for like two panels or maybe three panels. And then they're like, "What happened?" And they're like, "I think we're in an 18th century broadsheet." And then it happens again, and it ends with Zippy saying, "I will lambast the Prince of Wales," or something like that. Something silly.
Yay, that's funny.
It's a great cartoon.
Yeah, no, I've seen some pretty good historical cartoons. I wish more people were seeing them because it's like the sense of humor is still pretty relevant, which is part of the reason I like them so much because you can laugh at something from 300 years ago. Feel like people are not that different, whether it's different country or different time period. Wish more people. I've done my Cinderella. I'm gonna one more balloon done, and I can show everyone.
Wow.
All righty, mine is done. So
Oh,
are people ready to share? Or no?
I think they are. I think we've got a couple hands up, and I sort of want to share mine because it was fun to do. So and people are sharing. Yeah, people, we got some hands up.
Sweet.
Let's see yours. Can you hold it up close to
Yes,
the screen?
this is mine. It is Cinderella with the shoe. She's talking about how big her feet are, and the little guy trying giving her the shoe is like, "Whoa, they are huge." And the king is like, "Wow, that's a big foot." But yeah, I had a fun time drawing it. It was a good time. I want to see everyone else's. I'm
Awesome.
excited.
You know what? I rarely do this, but I'm going to go first if that's all right. I'm going to share really fast myself. And then, Lawrence, can you try and raise your hand again? I don't know your Zoom hand. I mean, it's okay if it doesn't work. It's fine. But
Let me see reactions. Yes, I can raise my hand.
yeah. All right. So I'm going to spotlight myself really fast, and then we'll go to Larned, Nathan, Alan, Chris, Hewitt. We got quite a few people. Um, so I did Hansel and Gretel, and I did a tiny at the last minute. I remembered that there was a Bugs Bunny Hansel and Gretel, so I sort of modeled Hansel and Gretel after the Looney Tunes, and she's saying, "I will have you for Easter." I wrote Eastern dinner instead of Easter dinner, and Hansel is saying, "Says you," and she's saying, my mighty snail will smite ye." And there's a little snail, so that's what he did.
Yes.
So it's so silly,
Oh
but
no, smoked by a snail.
yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna put yeah, Gabriel's got it. Hansel. So I'm gonna ask people to I'll put the sharing methods in the chat for after, and we'll go to Larned next. Larned, what do we have?
Okay, I did Snow White. So here we have Snow White knocking on this door where I think the dwarfs are in there. And sure enough, one of the dwarfs answers the door. "I am lost. Can you help me?" And let me see here. Boy, I can't get my hands to work.
Mhm.
Anyway, the dwarf says, "Where are you trying to go?" And Snow White says, "Kmart."
That's awesome. That's a classic Middle Ages subversion at the end of the story. They love stuff like that. That's
what
that they
I thought.
enjoy irony.
Yeah, I remember that from the Middle Ages because I was there.
Thanks, Larned. Okay, we'll go to Nathan next and then Alan. Here we go.
So I did the Three Little Pigs. This one's called the Fourth Little Pig. And I did these speech balloons like coming directly from inside the mouth, so it's kind of like their tongues. Let's see. So, we need shelter, brother, and they're at the fourth pig's house.
Mhm.
This is like a flashback to the wolf about to destroy their homes. I shall destroy this straw house. I shall destroy this wood house. I shall destroy, and it's cut off. I had a little fart bubble. In retrospect, if I didn't do this in pen, I would have changed it so that he's facing the other way, and it's kind of like a fart coming from here. I'm sure they would appreciate that. Um, and then, are you sure we're safe? This house is impenetrable, and it's made of snails. It's-
No, not the snails.
So yeah, that's what defeats the medieval wolf.
Well, I like the balloons coming directly out of the mouth because
Thank
that
you.
is something you see all the time with it, like literally like in their mouth and coming out. Usually it's a piece of paper, but you know.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. We'll go to Alan next. That's terrific.
Okay, so as usual, I did mine on my computer, and I did Puss in Boots.
You'll be able to share, Alan.
Yeah, specifically, at least if you know the story of Puss in Boots, admittedly, I guess not one of the best known fairy tales, but there's the part near the end where the cat has hyped its master up to the being the Marquis of Carabas, and then near the end, the cat tells his master to strip naked and jump in the river, and says that all his clothes have been stolen. So that's the depiction of that part. Alas, milady, my master hath been waylaid by brigands who have stolen his clothes. Oh, poor fellow, come into my carriage where thou wilt be warm. Good puss, I am uncertain of this plan. Quiet, fool, lest thou spoil our ruse. So there we go. Jokes
Oh,
there.
that's awesome.
It's just a reference to the Puss in Boots, near the end. All right.
That's fantastic. I like that you did the banderoles. They're really good.
Awesome, Alan. Thanks so much. Yeah, I
Thank you.
think it's great. So please share in our network too, everybody. We'd love to see it. We'll go to Chris next.
Thanks. This was a lot of fun. Mine's more of a play on words involving medieval stuff. So there's a couple of medieval characters saying, why is it so dark in here? And then this guy says, how about we turn on the Enlightenment? There's the printing press, and the printing press gives us Bibles that also have the Constitution in them. And then this person is saying, how do we get dark again?
That's awesome. That's delightful.
It's a great drawing of a printing press too, Chris.
I do like the texture, like the watery texture is very accurate too. Yeah, because they did a lot of stuff with watercolor and ink. So it also has the same vibe with the medium that you actually used.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. We'll go to Hewitt next.
Hey, yo. So I went with Steamboat Willie. Not too much of a fairy tale, but it's public domain now. So
It's
I went
perfect.
for Rowboat William. And it's backwards for me, but I think it's good for you guys. And it's I forget the cat's name, but he says, I dislike this mouse. And then Mickey says, thou art welcome to row yourself, cat.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, Hewitt. Awesome. All right, we'll go to Paula next if Paula's ready. I think she is.
Sorry.
Oh, Paula, wait, you got wait, you're muted again. Let me unmute. Let me get you unmuted.
Yeah, sorry. This is just chaos.
Beautiful.
It's
Let's see
just
it.
sort of like snails farting and stuff like that, really, and medieval things and animals and things. I didn't quite understand it, but it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot, though. It was really good. Thank you. And the speech bubbles like weird and stuff. So it was good. Thank you very much. It's complete chaos. I don't even know what to draw.
I think it's lovely, Paula. Thanks so much. We'll go to
Thank
Sarah.
you. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, so I did this fairy tale called Thousand Furs, which I only know about because Shantan did a very interesting sculpture series. And I remember the sculptor of this character. So the plot is that there's this princess who her mom dies, and the king wants to marry someone as beautiful as her mom was, which means he wants to marry her. And so she asks her father to make this dress out of every single kind of fur, and then she'll marry him. And she doesn't think he can do it, but he does do it. And so that's the fur that she disguises herself in to like run away. And so yeah, I don't know how medieval this turned out, but I was interested in like the thing where you have like the portrait of the person inside like the oval frame.
Uh-huh.
And what does that say? Mine eyes had mine eyes had never seen one so beautiful. That's what he said later in the story when like he sees her in a different disguise, kind of.
Mhm.
I need someone to explain this story to me because she does end up marrying him in the end, and I don't understand why.
So there are different versions of the story. I'm familiar with it. It's also called Donkey Skin, and it's very
Huh.
popular in France. And there's a movie version of it from the 70s with Catherine Deneuve that's also got like anachronistic stuff, like helicopters, and sing its musical songs. And it's very random, but it's a great movie, and it is an adaptation of a version where she did not get with. There's versions where the king marries the fairy godmother and she marries the prince that she meets while hiding from her dad. But yeah, there are some that just end in incest. Like, I don't know. You're
Yeah,
right. There's like no point.
I do. Someone needs to explain to me what the context is. Maybe it makes sense in context. I'm not sure.
It's just, oh, wow. Twist of fate. Am I right? It's like my impression of it from my reading and seeing it.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Will you put the name of the tale in the chat and we can do a little research on our own?
I'll put the
Thanks.
Wikipedia link and the sculpture I was looking at. Thank
Great.
you.
Look
And
up,
we'll go,
watch the movie. It's fantastic.
Thanks.
It's so good.
and we'll go to Jackie next. Hi, Jackie.
I chose the Bremen. Thank you. This was a lot of fun. I chose the Bremen Town Musicians.
Oh,
Let's see if I can get this.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Yeah. It's so there they are leaving town. Something better than death we can find anywhere, because it's like the mean mistress with the whip, and then sorry. Then there they are, the house of thieves, and they're all doing their thing, and the thieves are scared out of the house. There they are attacking the one thief who comes back, and he's like beset by strange creatures. And here they are, all living happily ever after in a cottage.
wow. I don't know if Lawrence, you can hear that. Yeah, Lawrence, are there a lot of bestiaries in medieval marginalian comics and things like that?
Yes, there's so many of them from all over the world too. And they're so funny because it's like, regardless of what country they come from, they all have a very similar theme of like, well, we know what's in our country, we don't know what's out there, probably monsters or something, who knows? Everyone there's evil, I guess. Everyone here is great. And it usually is like, I know that there is a very ancient Chinese text that is a bestiary that is like, it has like pictures of people with like faces in their chest and like birds that have one wing each, and when they join together, they're one bird. And there's many medieval bestiaries that are similar, where they're animals that are completely made up, mixed with animals that are real. And it's strange. It's like a drawing of an elephant next to a drawing of a unicorn. It's like, well, one of these is real, one of these is not real.
That's very cool. And I tried to use the it's not super clear, but I tried to use those. I like those scrolls, like they're holding
The banderoles, yeah. They're
banderoles.
cool.
Those are great.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to Joanne next.
I took Rapunzel, and I like the banderoles. So she's woe is me, help, help, and so he starts climbing, and then I like the words, the way the words were scrolling too, just without being inside something. And then hold on, I'm about to lose my hand. And then she realizes how much it hurts with him climbing up on her hair.
Oh.
And then, that's just a hairy mess. It's just hair everywhere.
Mm.
And then they're merrily ever after.
Oh, beautiful. Of course. I'm gonna put as a side note, I'm gonna put my presentation link in the chat so people can scroll through the slideshow on their own and look at some of the examples.
Awesome. Thanks, Joanne. We'll go to Gabriel when Gabriel is on. I really like that Rapunzel story. Here we go. Gabriel's here.
Hey everybody. So the story I chose was Red Riding Hood. So one of the things I liked about some of the illustration, I think the unicorn fight was what it was called.
The unicorn.
Just the way that it's all basically sort of like different scenes all kind of happening in one setting. And so you basically get the whole story just depending on where you're looking at. So here you have sort of, the mother's house, grandma's house, and then the deep dark woods. And then there's Red Riding Hood with that like kind of weird lumpy face and the big hands and the big pose.
Accurate. Yep.
And the wolf, I also like how sort of kind of flat and one-dimensional some of these drawings look. Like everything, a lot of them are sort of like everything's on one plane. So you have the wolf in this weird ass pose where it's like his arms and his face and his butt are all in the same place, and he's farting because he's the bad guy, and bad guys smell. And so his banderole says, no, grandma's house is this way, and it's obviously past grandma's house. And I needed to fill space, and so there's I don't know if this is in comics as well, but I know it's in animation as well. There used to be this expression called a margin gag. And when you said that it's like, oh, and there are like things in the margins that are just like little jokes, that's what it made me think of. And I was like, I need to fill this negative space here. So you have all the forest animals going, don't do it. It's a trap. You'll be sorry.
I love it's a trap. It's like that fish from Star Wars, right?
Oh, Admiral Akbar.
Yeah.
Because I just watched those. I just watched those movies, so it's probably fresh in my mind.
Well, I enjoy how you took the farting, because perfect medieval, they love their farts. But also the fact that you did it all in one scene, like the tapestry is awesome. And that's a really common way they did narrative art too, just all in one. Yeah, the whole story right there, just in different sections, like that. It's great. I love your wolf. It's so funny.
Thank you. So, I mean, I did it just as an excuse to draw. So I normally draw furries. So any excuse to draw funny animals is
hey, there you go.
Is a good one for me.
They love their funny animals, snails and rabbits.
Thanks, Gabrielle. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to Lyra next.
So I went for the Sleeping Beauty, and this is it. And of course, we got her banderole holding on her hand. So, what was that?
I said that's awesome.
Oh, thank you. So I tried the little snail thing up there because I like details, and I like to fill in I don't like negative space either. So I know you cannot read any here, but I did a little bit of a Google thing in there, and surely thou hast not brushed thy teeth, for thy stench can my nostrils no longer continue to bear. I will slap him as soon as I rise.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
I really like that you put it in her hand. That's a very I hope more comic artists today utilize the idea of the speech balloon as a physical object that people can hold and that actually comes out of their mouth and stuff. I think that's delightful.
Yeah.
I like it in their hands too. It's very metaphoric. Like, this is my words.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they meant when they did it.
Very cool. Thanks, Lyra. We'll go to Bill next. Here we go.
Well, I went with Hansel and Gretel, the more sensible old woman who realizes the kids are worth a lot more to her alive, because Well, her ancestors weren't the ones that ate the last horse in the New World. Uh, so she's saying, kids or children rather, when I say I could just eat you up, it's called cute aggression. Some people do bear hugs when they feel it. And your father has been cutting wood so long, that's all that's left in his head, wood. He's missed all the goodies. While we walk back to your family's house, we're going to forage. That's why the dog cart. And the kids are saying, like, zounds, Auntie, they get giant mushrooms, berries, stunned squirrels that fell on their heads, gourds, apples, pears, honeycombs, and who knew you could eat ants and termites? And the dog with the plain white eye is just saying, arf.
That's great. I love
I
the
didn't know
floating
how to do the banderoles. Does it have to go sideways and upside down and all? So I just wrote
did it
paragraphs.
out. I think artists back then just did it however, because the more examples you look at banderoles, the more you realize that people just ran with the concept and did it
I
kind of
guess it
however
was
way they.
fun to play with. It looks like they had fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like
Definitely.
that you did the floating block of text because that's also very common. So it's not like
Mm.
that's
Well,
a
I thought I saw that, so I figured, yeah, I'll do that.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Bill.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we got a double with Aaron and Caroline next. Here we go.
Hey, you want to go first or you want me to?
I can go first because mine's like I just got to one scene. Um, I did the Frog Prince, and so here's the little prince, and he's saying, "Kiss me."
Aw.
I don't know
Oh,
if
Is it
it's
working?
blurry. It's kind of blurry.
I love that it's in her hand and the sort of like the words are kind of wrapping her a little bit around her wrist a little bit. That's great.
And I chose Jack and the Beanstalk, and we're kind of zooming in on him as he's climbing. So we've got, are we there yet? And he's kind of talking to himself. And what I say? If only. And I really liked the unhappy father in one of the images that you showed us. I don't know if you can see his little face, but I included his little like whiskers on his chin and everything. And I just really dug him for some reason. He resonated today.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it is a band of, the implication is that is a band of traveling Jewish musicians. That specific cartoon. It's like a whole family. It's interesting. The translation is really funny.
Love that. Thanks. Thanks, Aaron and Caroline.
Thanks,
All right,
Al.
we'll go to Gail next. I think Gail's our last one.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. These were so much fun to look at. I wasn't really able to get the medieval style down, but I did try to draw a medieval castle.
You did it.
So this is the story of Melusina, which I recently learned about through a novel I read called Possession. Okay, so I'm going to read you the text here. Oh, my love, why did you have to look at me in the bath? Now I am doomed to circle the castle all night, watching my children sleep, but never embracing them again.
Oh.
So Melusina was a beautiful woman who, when she bathes, her legs turn into her real bottom, which is the scaly fish snake sort of bottom. And her husband was never supposed to look at her, and when he did, this was her curse.
Oh.
Yeah, very sad. Thank
Yeah.
you. This was so much fun. Really fun to watch and see everybody's medieval drawings. So thank you, Lawrence.
Problem. Thank you for Melusina. I know the story. It's great.
Wow. Thanks, Gail. All right, Nikki from New Zealand. How's it going, Nikki?
Oh, thank you very much. Are you able to, before I start, put the spelling of, is it manderole? Is that how it's called it?
Banderole? Are you talking about the banderole?
Yeah, because I mean, like I've been researching illuminated texts. I'll show you one in a minute. But that was like a whole new thing for me, and I love that. That's just so cool. What an awesome tool. I'm going to start using those now. And I need to change my view because I can't see myself. Let me go speaker. That's better. Yeah, so I think to use it like there, I've just used it to do the date. So what fun! But I'm just so lucky because see, I've been doing these since February, doing
Ooh, those are
research
awesome.
on illuminated textures and using them for. I'm doing a series on them, but I'm just kind of exploring. I mean, these are letters that I've sent out to people. So yeah, I loved today. That was so much fun and so unexpected. So I will be using that different form of speech bubble.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thank
Nikki.
you very much.
All right. Stay safe out there. All right.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Lawrence, thanks so much. We got so many great surprises out of that. There's so many people just had delightful responses, you know, and had a really great time.
Well, I think
And
it's the art working as intended.
Nice. And I also like when we get some in jokes going. So like so many people put snails in. They're like, I gotta get some snails in. It's like it's like a little bit of community that just happens in 1 hour, you know. It was super fun. So
I appreciate it.
yeah, tell us one more time what you're working on and when we can expect it.
So I make a comic called Jimothy Jimbles. It's a series. I'm based in Chicago, so anytime you are in Chicago during the summer at like Cake or Chicago Zine Fest, Zine Mercado, I'm usually at all of those. So if you see me there, say hi because I'm
Okay.
usually there. And I'm right now working on a full-length graphic novel as a horror romance kind of book. And I'm hoping to get it published soon, but I've got to finish penciling the whole thing first. So
You're tireless. I remember talking to you about that. Well, cool. I'm gonna ask everyone to unmute and give you a round of applause and say thanks
oh, thank
for
you.
coming out.
Thank
Thanks so much,
you.
Lawrence.
Thanks,
Thank
Lawrence.
you. Thank you.
Sorry for all the
you.
technical hiccups.
Thank
Thank you. It
you.
was really
Thank
fun.
you.
Thank you.
Bye from
Bye.
London.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye from
Sorry,
London.
Bye.
Bye.
Happy
Bye.
Easter.